This is the world news. My name is Esther Wachuku, and here are the top stories. President Tinubu signs 4 tax bills into law. In a very recent development, abductors of Benway links passengers demand 350 million naira ransom. Also, as it stands at this very moment, civil society organizations call on the federal government to insist security should be priority. Court sentences gospel singer Timileyin Ajayi to death for killing NYSC member Salome Adaidu. Now, very recently, with an exclusive, Wike intensifies mindless looting of Abuja lands, allocate 2,082 hectares worth $3.6 billion to son Jauken in Maitama Asokoro. Meanwhile, Larry Olayinka recently denies that Wike actually allocated such lands to his son. Lagos government denies involvement of Obi's claims concerning property demolition. And also, DSS finally releases factional NAN's President Atiku Issa after nearly 2 months over assault allegations against Sheyi Tinubu-backed faction. Details now. Thank you for staying with us. The news begins with the president today giving presidential assent to the 4 tax bills to become law. This was done at a ceremony held at the presidential villa in Abuja. The tax bills include Nigerian Tax Bill, the Nigerian Tax Administration Bill, National Revenue Service Establishment Bill, and Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill. One of the 4 bills is the Nigerian Tax Bill, Ease of Doing Business, which aims to consolidate Nigeria's fragmented tax laws into a harmonized statute. By reducing the multiplicity of taxes and eliminating duplication, the bill will enhance the ease of doing business, reduce taxpayer compliance burdens, and create a more predictable fiscal environment. The second bill, the Nigeria Tax Administration Bill, will establish a uniform legal and operational framework for tax administration across federal, state, and local governments. The Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Bill, the third bill, repeals the current Federal Inland Revenue Service Act, creates a more autonomous and performance-driven National Revenue Agency, the Nigerian Revenue Agency, and its service. It defines the NRS's expanded mandate, including non-tax revenue collection, and lays out transparency, accountability, and efficiency mechanisms. The fourth bill is a Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill. It provides for a formal governance structure to facilitate cooperation between revenue authorities at all levels of government. It introduces essential oversight mechanisms, including establishing a tax appeal tribunal and an office of the tax ombudsman. Abductors of passengers on a Benway link bus attacked in Okpoko local government area have demanded a ransom of 350 million naira for the release of their victims. The passengers were kidnapped on July 10th. The families of the abducted passengers have appealed to the Benway state government and security agencies to intervene and secure the immediate release of their loved ones. Meanwhile, just last Christmas, Wike challenged Nigerians who accused him of stealing lands from everyday citizens for himself and his cronies under his purported policy against dormant allocations to come forward with evidence. It appears, according to an exclusive expose by the People's Gazette, that the Abuja minister knew his accusers were onto something but brushed aside those allegations because he had no expectation of being exposed or by an investigative media platform, the People's Gazette. Officials estimated that the hectares Mr. Wike has issued to his son, along with certificates of occupancy, are worth at least $3.6 billion. A plot in Maitama and Asokoro, where Mr. Wike gave his son at least 7 hectares total, was recently sold for $1.28 and $1.4 million respectively, according to documents reviewed by the People's Gazette. Mr. Wike's action was so brazen that when aides told him he needed to exercise caution, he dismissed their warning, saying he wanted his children to be the largest landowners in the nation's capital. Reacting to this information released by this investigative online platform, the People's Gazette, the Senior Special Assistant in Public Communications and Social Media to the Minister of the FCT, Larry Olayinka, has debunked the reports, alleging that Wike allotted, or rather allocated 2,082 hectares of land to one of his sons in Asokoro. FCT Minister see 2,082 hectares of land to allocate to anyone. Larry Olayinka clarified that the right of occupancy, that is R of O, referenced in the report, was issued to JOAQ Farms and Estate Limited, a registered agricultural company, and not to any individual linked to the minister. He said, for the avoidance of doubt, JOAQ Farms and Estate Limited, a company duly registered in Nigeria, got land allocation in the Buari Area Council for the purpose of farming. So what is wrong with a farmer getting land allocation strictly for the purpose of agriculture? Olayinka noted that the publication forms part of a broader campaign aimed at tarnishing Wike's image. He insisted that despite Wike's right and that of his family to acquire land anywhere in Nigeria, no allocation has been made to his children. Or violation of extant laws, any individual or group found involved in such acts will be brought to justice, end quote. It, however, urged the public to disregard Obi's claims, as it would not be swayed by what it described as baseless allegations or attempts to discredit its efforts. They also disclosed that while this is being on the go, the government said it had ordered an investigation into the matter. It added, furthermore, we have directed the Permanent Secretary, Office of Urban Development, Akbolahon Owoduni Oki, to request a full investigation by the Lagos State Building Control Agency into this matter. This investigation will help clarify the circumstances surrounding the demolition and ensure that any necessary actions are taken. Obi had, in a post on his official X handle on Wednesday, Issa was freed on Thursday and handed over to his family and lawyer. Earlier that day, the reports that the DSS was still holding Issa despite his legal team fulfilling all bail conditions. The secret police had demanded additional paperwork on Wednesday. Although Issa's lawyers promptly provided the requested documents, the DSS initially refused to release him. However, following reports this morning, the DSS contacted Issa's family and lawyer, asking them to come and take him home. Human rights activist Omoyele Sowore also visited the DSS office in Abuja today to press for Issa's release. However, operatives denied him entry. On Tuesday, the DSS arraigned Issa before a magistrate court in Abuja. Issa, who appeared in court wearing black clothing, had reportedly been brutalized by a rival Nans faction allegedly backed by President Bola Tinubu's son, Seyi Tinubu. He was granted bail in the sum of 5 million naira with one surety in line. Thank you for staying with us. You're still listening to the World News right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Barrister Fred Nzako, good evening, and thank you for joining us today on the World News at 6. How are you, sir?
Very well. Good evening, and good evening to the listeners.
Thank you very much, Barrister. It's a wet Thursday. Today was actually wet. It's been raining since morning. We thank God for that. Barrister, let's start off with the situation with Wike. So, you know the People's Gazette, they're an investigative online platform. What that means is, before you release any exclusive, you must have done your proper investigation, asked questions, gotten documents. Now, if you go to the website of this platform, you would see the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Federal Capital Territory Administration, Department of Land Administration, offer of statutory right of occupancy to a particular JOAQ Farms and Estate Limited. Now, according to this complaint, I think there was a very popular woman whose husband served in the Nigerian military. Obviously, she came on a monitor television program to talk about her land that was going to be taken over by the FCT minister, and she said, based on her own investigation, because she got a private investigator that the lands were being allocated to the friends and cronies of Nyesom Wike, although he denied it. Lera Olayinka has come out to debunk it. But do you think it's just debunking? I mean, if somebody publishes a false report against you and you know that there is no evidence to that, is the next thing not to sue the person to court? For this particular exclusive to come out, due diligence may have been carried out. So how come the minister's spokesperson is denying it and did not really address some certain details that were here, aside from the fact that it was allocated to somebody who bought a farm for farming?
Well, farm for farming in Asokoro makes it very cool, a good respect for people's gazette. And they don't usually publish what they are not sure of, but that does not mean that they could not make mistake, and that does not mean that there could not be an error somewhere or possibility of exaggeration. Even though in Nigeria we say that there's no smoke without fire, and that is why when there is such an allegation, a government that is sensitive to issues of integrity and accountability will not just debunk and sweep it under the carpet, but will investigate it. And I tell you that the regime of land allocation and land management in Abuja should be one that should be transparent and open to the extent that whenever there is an allocation, I think I have forgotten the minister that used to practice that openness, that on a monthly basis, he will publish
plots in Maitama, Asokoro, Guzapi, and other parts of Abuja. These were found from the documents that they were pouring through on all the lands allocated by the minister since he assumed office in 2023. Now, Mr. Wike issued to his son along with certificates of occupancy, and they are worth at least $3.6 billion. So if you look at that document, you will see that, remember, his son's name is Joaquin. The name of the farm is JOAQ Farms and Estate Limited. What would you say to this?
Well, the witch may cry in the night and baby will die in the morning. There may be nexus, there may not be nexus. After all, he is not the only one who answers Joaquin. Joaquin didn't start with him and will not end with him. I mean,
but you don't think there's a coincidence to that?
The young son of the minister or the proprietors of such company. And how can the minister allocate such large portion of land to an entity? What is really going to be left for others? Does it mean that after Wike there will be no more minister for FCT? Or after what is left for the future Nigerians that are still upcoming? You see, this idea of grabbing everything at once does not make for healthy development of the country. So even if he not allocated to his own relations or cronies, to allocate such large parcel of land to one entity defeats the whole idea of Abuja being the center of unity. That means that some people now own Abuja at the exclusion of others. I think that in procedure it is wrong, in morality it is wrong, and in principle it is wrong. Government should come and tell us what is actually going on.
Said demolition. Now, they urged the public to disregard Obi's claims. However, they said they were going to investigate the matter. Now, due to further research, because lately, Nigerians decide to take matters on themselves. They've now become politically aware. You have those supporting the government of the day. You have the Peter Obi supporters. You have other opposition supporters. And everybody went on to research this particular land. Who owns it? Is it Peter Obi's brother that owns it? Or is Peter Obi's brother a shareholder of the company? How long has this land been in dispute? If the land is actually active, if that said property is active, how come over the night a court order was issued for that property to be demolished? At the time, Peter Obi said they were unknown persons. Later we realized that the land is owned by a woman. And apparently the documents came out online. I think Sahara Reporters published the name of the woman, the right of occupancy, the CFO that she says she had. But a couple of lawyers believe that what happened was Peter Obi's team weren't properly served, that the judge may not have even known what happened while he issued that certificate, that judgment or whatever, for that property to be demolished. That what some people do, some lawyers do, is that they paste it on the building, snap it, remove it, go to the court and say, oh, they have served the person. And if for a number of days the defense has not possibly brought in a counter affidavit or something, then they can go ahead to do what they want to do.
Is the way forward is let there be a thorough investigation into this matter. Selfless investigation that will be anchored on honesty and sincerity of purpose, so that we know exactly what truly happened and what transpired. You don't just wake up and demolish another man's assets for no just cause. Because even if no court will order demolition on an ex parte motion, no court. The other side must be heard. There must be a notice to the other side for them to come and either defend or explain any circumstance. And if it is by way of breach of government rule or failure to take certain action, yes, it does not happen spontaneously. There will be notices, there will be possibility of warnings and all that, to the extent that there's no way the owner of the property will not be informed that something is going on.
Somebody who is supposedly popular, if it were an ordinary Nigerian, God knows, may not even have gotten this kind of attention. These things, like you rightly said, happens in Lagos. But again, I asked a very important question. This particular land has been in contest, I think, since 2022. They've been on and back and forth all around it. And again, Peter Obi was saying that the brother wasn't even given any prior notice, wasn't served, nothing at all. So is it possible that this was done deliberately by the owner of that property, whereby you blindside the other party, do what you want to do, execute what you want to do? Because in time past, Peter Obi had complained that
conduct detailed investigation and bring out the truth and the fact. It is possible that government will have. There are some cases where individuals will be tussling for land or for some property, and the other one is possibly in possession, and the other one is not in possession. We just rule bulldozer and demolish it. Many people in Nigeria act out of impunity, believing that nothing will happen at the end of the day. And that is why when they are not adequately punished for doing wrong, then impunity continues. So it is that's why I say that it is possible the government may not be involved at all, but because of the way it has happened, and there was a brandishing of a court order, whether that court order is fake or real.
okay.
The very fact that they brandished a court order or a court judgment has now brought in government through the judiciary. So the government at the executive level now the country's drive towards international investment, because many international investors became afraid that they can't go and invest in this country where they wake up one day and our next what I have suffered for over the years. Property right is an international right. It's as strong as human rights. And that is why you protect property rights. Property rights are protected in all jurisdictions around the world. And that is why if I have the money today, I will go to UK and buy a property. I will go to US, I will go to South Africa, I will go to Russia and buy property. And the property will enjoy same protection as given to any other property, any